9. The origin of sacrificial rituals. Sutta 9, Chapter 3, Book of Threes. The story begins in Sravasti. At that time, King Pasenadi of Kosala was preparing for a grand sacrificial ritual. For this sacrifice, 500 bulls, 500 bullocks, 500 heifers, 500 goats, and 500 rams were tied to sacrificial posts. The slaves, servants, and workers were weeping and crying as they carried out the preparations under the threat of whips and intimidation. One morning, many bhikkhus, Buddhist monks, dressed in their robes, took their alms bowls and outer robes, and entered Sravasti to beg for food. After collecting alms in the city and finishing their meal, they came before the Blessed One, Buddha. After paying their respects to the Blessed One, they sat down to one side. Once seated, these bhikkhus said to the Blessed One, "Venerable Sir, in this land, King Pasenadi of Kosala is preparing for a grand sacrificial ritual. For this sacrifice, 500 bulls, 500 bullocks, 500 heifers, 500 goats, and 500 rams are tied to sacrificial posts. The slaves, servants, and workers are weeping and crying as they carry out the preparations under the threat of whips and intimidation." Upon hearing this, the Blessed One spoke these verses. The horse sacrifice, human sacrifice, throwing of the peg, and other grand sacrifices. These great rituals involving great slaughter do not bring great rewards. Where goats, sheep, and cattle, and various creatures are slain, the truly wise do not participate in such sacrifices. But those harmless sacrifices, performed according to tradition, where no goats, sheep, or cattle, nor any other beings are killed, the truly wise participate in such proper sacrifices. The wise should offer this kind of sacrifice, for such sacrifices bring abundant rewards. For those who perform such sacrifices, there are only benefits and no faults. Such sacrifices are grand and excellent, and even the gods rejoice in them. This passage comes from a Buddhist scripture and tells a story about sacrifice. Through the Buddha's teachings, it deeply explains the importance of nonviolence and compassion. Let's analyze this wisdom-filled content. 1. Background analysis. The story takes place in the ancient Indian city of Sravasti. King Pasenadi was preparing for a grand sacrifice. This sacrifice involved the slaughter of many animals and caused much human suffering. It reflects the common religious practices of that time, where people believed that sacrifices could bring divine blessings or fulfill certain wishes. 2. The Buddhist monk's reaction. The bhikkhus witnessed this scene while begging for alms in the city and reported what they saw and heard to the Buddha. This shows the Buddhist observation and concern for the world around them, as well as their attitude of seeking guidance from the Buddha. 3. The Buddha's teaching. The Buddha gave his teaching in the form of verses. He clearly pointed out that those large-scale sacrifices involving violence and killing do not actually bring true blessings. Instead, he advocated a harmless, traditional way of sacrifice that does not harm any life. 4. Interpretation of wisdom. The Buddha referred to those who participate in non-violent sacrifices as the truly wise, emphasizing the importance of compassion and wisdom. He pointed out that this kind of sacrifice not only benefits those who perform it, but also brings no faults and even gains the approval of the gods. This scripture reveals a profound truth. True wisdom and good deeds do not lie in external rituals and scale, but in inner compassion and respect for life. It inspires us to reflect on several points. 1. Equality of life. Every life, big or small, deserves respect and cherishing. We should reflect on whether our actions unintentionally harm other lives. 2. Balance between tradition and morality. While traditional culture has its value, we should also examine it with moral and rational eyes. When traditional customs conflict with universal values, we need the courage to change. 3. True sacrifice. The harmless sacrifice proposed by the Buddha is actually a form of inner cultivation. It encourages us to sacrifice through kind and compassionate actions, which is the true way to bring blessings. 4. Leaders' responsibility. The king in the story represents social leaders. This reminds us that those in positions of power should set an example by promoting kindness and nonviolence. 5. Importance of awareness. The Bhikkhus act of reporting what they saw to the Buddha symbolizes that we should always remain alert and dare to question unreasonable phenomena. 6. Harmonious coexistence. The Buddha's teaching is not only about the relationship between humans and animals, but extends to the harmony between humans and humans and nature. It inspires us that only by respecting all life can we create a truly peaceful world. Although brief, this scripture contains profound philosophy. It invites us to re-examine our actions and beliefs, pursuing a nobler and more meaningful way of life. In today's world full of conflicts and contradictions, this wisdom undoubtedly points out a path to peace and happiness.